Have you ever looked back on the past year and saw it as a reason for celebration? Or do you simply beat yourself up for everything that you didn't accomplish? Or the things that didn't turn out the way that you imagined they would? Well, pull out your pen and journal because this episode is for you. It's not all about setting goals and checking off boxes. Fresh starts are also about honoring the woman that you became and celebrating all of the things that may not have been on your list, but that you did accomplish. So let's learn and grow together. Put on your party hat and stay tuned. Beautiful dreamer, before we rush headfirst into another year that's crammed full with your list of goals, visions, and things to accomplish, I want to invite you to participate in something that may seem a little counterproductive, maybe even a little radical for this time of year. I want you to join me in taking an intentional pause. Now, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. This is not a pause because you failed. And it's not a pause because you fell behind, but it's a pause because you need to recognize the places over the past year where you truly lived, where you grew and you became. So often, women who want to achieve goals, yes, I'm talking about you and I, women who crave purpose, significance, meaning, and value, measure their worth by all of the things that are still left undone. We lay in bed at night and replay all of the unfinished tasks, the goals not accomplished, the dreams still on the vision board, and the versions of ourselves that we didn't quite reach yet. And when we do this, and I say we because I'm just as guilty, we overlook something incredibly powerful. Everything that we actually accomplished simply by continuing to show up with tenacity and perseverance. So, this episode is a celebration, not just a make you feel good, quick pat on the back celebration, but a deep, lingering, soul-searching acknowledgement of the woman you grew into and became over the past year. This is about stopping long enough to celebrate so that you can now recalibrate all those other things with clarity, confidence, and compassion as you step into this next season. Okay. So pause, let the confetti drop. This moment is for you. I want to share with you why celebration is a strategy and not a distraction. Because unfortunately, many high-achieving women believe celebration is optional, or even worse, an indulgence. We tell ourselves that we'll celebrate after we hit the next milestone, after the bigger breakthrough, or even after we feel like we're finally enough. And what I recognized is that when we do this, it seems like someone is always moving the finish line on us. Because the truth of the matter is, celebration is how we learn. When we stop to reflect on what actually worked, we begin to gather evidence that, believe it or not, we are capable. Evidence that whether we recognize it or not, growth is happening, even when it feels like it's moving at a snail's pace. And more importantly, the evidence that our dreams are not unrealistic. They're just slow and unfolding. When I moved into my current house, on the inside of my closet door, there were line marks that encompassed several feet, and every line had initials and a date. And if you saw it, you would know immediately what I'm talking about. It's the place where some parent charted the growth of her child over months and even years. And in the span of 2 or 3 feet, months and years were documented. But I'm sure this mother didn't notice the growth on a daily basis. And the same holds true for us. If we don't take the time to pause and document the little milestones, then we'll never be able to look back and celebrate how far we've come. So this is why I feel like it's so important to encourage you to do that today. Because celebration isn't about settling. It's about recognizing which habits, courage, and resilience are already instilled inside of you. Because those are the very tools that you'll need to move forward and achieve your goals still ahead. And this is why today we're not rushing forward. We're looking back. And we're doing it intentionally and on purpose. Now, this might be a great time for you to take out a pen and paper or your journal. And I want you to recognize, not just in your mind, but also on paper, what you have actually accomplished this past year. Now, as I read these, I want you to resist the urge to minimize them by saying, no, it really wasn't that big, or other people did more, because this is only about your life, your growth, and your celebration. Number 1, you survived something that once felt impossible. Maybe this year didn't look so impressive on paper, but emotionally, it asked everything and more of you. You may have navigated grief. I know in my circle, we lost so many close friends this year. You may have endured heartbreak, and you stayed when it would have been easier to quit. Survival isn't a small accomplishment. It's the foundation of resilience, and resilience is the cultivated soil where future dreams grow. Number 2, you made brave decisions with more self-trust. I want you to think back to the woman you were a year ago. How often did you second-guess yourself? And how often did you feel the need to seek permission before honoring your own thoughts, ideas, boundaries, and needs? I thought so. But this year, you listened more. You hesitated less. You diligently chose your actions intuitively, even when it felt uncomfortable. That's growth. That's self-leadership. That is a woman growing and learning her worth. Number 3, you took steps towards your goals, even when they seemed soft or quiet, because not all progress is big and loud. For example, maybe you started journaling consistently, or invested in your personal development, or even like me, set better boundaries this year. Maybe you dusted off the cobwebs and revisited an old dream. Or you took one brave step that you didn't tell anyone about. Or maybe you even did all of these. Remember, not all women who achieve their goals and great accomplishments move fast, but they move intentionally. And over time, that intentionality compounds. Number 4, you learned what doesn't work, and that counts too. I probably bring up this point at least quarterly. The expression that we learn from our mistakes obviously had to come from someone's experience. So let's normalize the fact that clarity most often comes from contrast, or said better, what didn't work. Because whether you'd like to admit it or not, all of us can acknowledge at one time or another that you tried things that drained you, or you chased goals that weren't aligned to your current season. Or even you said yes when your soul wanted to say no. And now you've also learned the hard way. But now you also know better. And unfortunately, this is how we learned what works and what doesn't work. Because wisdom is earned. It's not downloaded. And this year, you earned it. Number 5, you showed up on the hard days. Motivation didn't carry you through this year. Commitment and perseverance did, because there were days, weeks, and maybe even months that you showed up tired. You showed up unprepared, and you may have showed up without any support or guarantees. And that consistency is the quiet superpower behind every woman who builds a meaningful life. And don't forget to celebrate the invisible wins, because even though some accomplishments may not come with applause, they inevitably change everything. This also may have been the year that you learned to rest, truly rest without guilt. This has been a hard one for me. Or maybe you stop explaining yourself. Also me. And you let go of relationships that kept you feeling small or insignificant, which may have allowed you to speak to yourself more kindly and allowed yourself to evolve. And these are not small shifts. These are identity level changes. And when our identity shifts, the results eventually follow. Beautiful dreamer, I wish more people could understand this. Unfortunately, we allow external circumstances and others' opinions to shape our identity instead of evolving into the beautiful God-given identity that we were created to inhabit. Which brings me to our timeless truth for today, which is, the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate. Okay, now we're ready for recalibration, or learning from what you did right. Now, here's where the celebration becomes fuel for the flame that's going to ignite your future. So make sure you have your journal and pen out, because this is our challenge for today. Now, ask yourself and write out your thoughts. How did I accomplish these things? What consistent habits supported me? What boundaries protected my emotional well-being? What beliefs or truths helped me to keep going? Beautiful dreamer, this isn't about creating perfection. It's about recognizing the patterns of success already built into your life that you can identify to reuse. Because the woman you're becoming doesn't need a complete reinvention. She simply needs refinement. Now, here's a little motivation for the woman seeking significance and value. If you've been quietly wondering whether or not your life matters, let me remind you. You matter because you're here. Remember, Ephesians 2:10 says, you are God's masterpiece, and you were created in Christ Jesus to fulfill a specific purpose, and God has a great plan for you. And the people around you, they need you to fulfill it. You absolutely matter. And you matter because you're growing. I want you to think of a budding rose and the excitement and anticipation that we feel as we watch it evolve and grow into what it was created to be. And you matter because you care enough to reflect. No one ever made progress by being stagnant. That's why these exercises, even when they're uncomfortable, they add value to our lives, not just to our future, but also by setting an example for all of those that are coming up after us and who are watching how we navigate through the good times and the bad, the successful and not so successful. There are young women hungering for role models that actually show their work, that don't rely on quick fixes, and who give them permission to pursue purpose, not necessarily perfection. Thomas Carlyle says the person without purpose is like a ship without a rudder. Every time I lose focus, this quote centers me. Because just as we discussed in the previous episode, purpose acts like our internal compass, guiding our decisions and actions towards what truly matters. And Proverbs 29:18 tells us where there's no vision, the people perish. After all, contrary to the world's implied standards, our significance isn't found in constant achievement. It's found in alignment to God's plan and purpose for our lives, in living a life that feels intentional and true to what He created and called us to. And this year, you've moved closer to that purpose. Now, here's a gentle invitation into the next season. As we step into this new beginning, don't just ask yourself, what do I still need to accomplish? Also ask yourself, what things internally or externally do I want to carry forward? What new and improved version of myself do I trust now? And what working pace actually supports my well-being? Because dreams don't disappear when they take more time. They actually evolve into something with more substance and stability than if we just rush to accomplish them. Remember, you're not in this alone. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord, because He's working right alongside you to grow you and your purpose and your goals." Beautiful dreamer, I hope you let this episode encourage and inspire you to celebrate the things that you actually have accomplished and allow them to grow you as you move into this next chapter. Let yourself feel proud of what you've learned and accomplished, and let yourself feel empowered to move forward. Let yourself believe that the woman you're becoming is already well on her way to fulfilling her God-given dreams and purpose. Remember, our timeless truth for today is the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate. This past year mattered. Beautiful dreamer, you mattered. And the next season doesn't require more people-pleasing. It requires deeper trust in that fact. And as you celebrate yourself today, bring a friend along on the journey. Share this podcast with her. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, because I have a lot of fun things coming out in the next few weeks that I don't want you to miss. Remember, I'm celebrating right alongside you. And I'm celebrating 50 episodes of cheering you on and dreaming even bigger dreams for you and I to truly believe that happily ever after isn't a lie.